to see so many friendly faces. So welcome to our virtual coffee hour. I think everyone here probably knows CultureWorks, but just in case. So CultureWorks, our mission is to strengthen artists and arts and culture organizations to drive a greater impact in the community. And this virtual coffee hour is one of the ways we do that, by bringing together the creative community to learn from each other, to share ideas. And that's exactly what we're here to do today. So thrilled to have Jayme Swain, as our guest speaker today. Jayme is the CEO of VPM, our local public broadcasting network. And it's not just the station here in Richmond, it's a network spanning across Virginia. And so with that, I'm going to invite Jayme to take the con and tell us more about their new headquarters, and invite you all to share some feedback with Jayme. Jayme, take it away.
Good morning. First, thank you, Scott, for including me. I appreciate being here with all of you. I see some familiar faces and some new faces, so excited to engage with you this morning. I do want to introduce a few people on the call that are joining me from VPM. So you may see Meg Garner, who's our Chief Operating Officer, Steve Humble, who is our Chief Content Officer, and Angie Hatcher-Sledge, who is the newest member of our team, who is our VP of Philanthropy. And they're here to help me answer some questions, particularly Steve and Meg, who are alongside me with this big project that we are going to share this morning. So many of you already know the news. Some of you, the news may be brand new, that VPM is moving to downtown Richmond. So what we wanted to do today was share a little bit of the why, the where, the how, and then I am going to ask in a little bit for the CultureWorks team to stop recording, because I want to give you all a sneak peek. You are one of the first to see some of the interiors, because what I would love from this group is feedback as we start to finalize and polish up some of those interior designs. So this was very well timed. And again, I appreciate Scott for putting me on the docket. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. Hopefully everyone can see that. Maybe give me a thumbs up. There we go. Okay, great. So yes, the big news is that VPM is moving to downtown Richmond. This has been a long and deliberate process. We actually started this back in 2020 and looked at our own building and thought, how can we improve our current facility? And there were a couple of reasons. One, as you can imagine, so this is actually VPM's 60th year, so very exciting year for VPM. And but technology, when we created this building in 1964, has certainly accelerated to a pace that has made it harder and harder for us to keep up with our mission, be able to really serve our mission with the technology infrastructure we have in place. The other thing that we started to really think about with the board and with our team here is, as public media, we're sort of tucked back in here in Chesterfield. It's been a great location for us. When we first moved in here, there was literally nothing here. But now we're surrounded by apartments and different buildings, and we're hard to find and not as accessible as we would like to be. So our board, and I think I give our board a lot of credit, said, let's be bold. This is a moment to really think about, what does the future of public broadcasting look like for the next 60 years? So I went on a full tour of the region. I saw 70 locations, including Henrico, Chesterfield, and Richmond. And I fell in love with this particular spot that I'm going to talk to you about. So the location is on Broad Street, between First and Fushie. It's a lot that stretches from Broad Street to Gray Street. In the next slide, you'll get a little bit more of a view on it. But the reason we fell in love with this particular lot is as you look at this area, we have three major pillars for our strategic plan. One is local news. As local news on the for-profit model begins to decline or have many challenges, I think VPM is uniquely positioned to step into that place. We've been doing news since our inception. We've built community trust, and we have a sustainable model. And this location will put our reporters right near the seat of power. You have the state capitol, you have City Hall. We're going to be able to bring people in for interviews and conversations. So that's a great piece of it. We are really focused on arts and culture. And if there's questions, Steve can talk a little bit more about that work. And some of you may or may not know that under Steve's leadership, we purchased Style Weekly, and hopefully you have your food issue. I know I saw someone had it earlier, which is exciting. So we want to be in the heart of the arts and culture district. We want to be able to throw open our doors for First Fridays and be really a good partner and part of the community. And our third pillar is early childhood education. And I think even near VCU, near Virginia Union, really being downtown and being near all of these universities will be helpful as we think about our education remit. And the other piece is obviously it's on a bus line, it's accessible, and right on the heart of Broad Street. So the way that the building will orient, so again, think Broad Street front to back. I'm just going to point out some markers just to help you anchor. So where my cursor is, this is Waller and Company Jewelers right here. I think I saw Janine on, and Janine's business is right here, Alegba Folklore Society. Bunky's Trophies is down here. You may know that. Shea Fushi is right here on the corner. So that hopefully orients you to the way the building will sit. So the main structure of the building where VPM will conduct our operations will be in the front part on Broad Street. We really want to activate Broad Street. So it'll be about 5 stories, 50 some thousand square feet. And that's where we'll have production studios, staff, meeting spaces, and what have you. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. On the Gray Street side, by mandate of the city, we need to build a building. So we will build a 1-story building, basically to mask the parking that we are going to put between those 2 structures. The idea is that the city does not want Gray Street just to become the backs of parking garages, which makes sense. And we're still interrogating some of these things and thinking about how much parking we can do, but that is the idea. So this is the parking lot as it exists today. Again, you see Waller's here on your left. This is Hawks Drawer here on your right. And again, this may be a familiar location to many of you. So here is what the building will look like. Many of you may have seen the renderings. I want to give a lot of credit to our local architecture firm, who is SMBW. They did a lot of study about the history of the block, the history of the particular building that was used to be here, which was the Cohen Family Department Store. It burned down in 1986. Just studying the different architectural styles and how we can be respectful to our neighbors and to the neighborhood and fit in. So you'll notice, for example, we opted to step back the 4th and 5th floors so that the building is 5 stories doesn't tower over. So you see very much alignment with the lines right here. And again, from a first floor perspective, we need from the production, we need those taller ceilings, those 22-foot ceilings. But the great thing is many of these stores had those taller first floors because they were storefronts. They were areas to welcome the community in. So we're taking a little bit of a modern to contemporary twist on what was originally 1926 architecture. And we've talked to all of the neighbors, and they've been included in the process, particularly David Waller here, Hawks Drawer, and again, some of the folks on Bunky's Trophies. Again, what you see is a lot of glass, and the idea there, I think, for a few reasons. One, it's more timeless. The other is it's transparent, and what we want is this to be a building that's welcoming and inclusive for all. We even have joked our newsroom might be here on the 2nd floor. We're still trying to figure out placements of everybody, but with the world of AI, our news director said we might need to coin the tagline, by humans for humans, and to have glass where you can actually see that there are reporters and there are people doing work, I think will mean a lot to the community. So pay attention to this. This is where I'm going to get your feedback. So what we have on the first floor is 2 spaces. One is a traditional production studio. Think of the black box. And for any of you who've been out to Sesame Street, and the front will be a little bit more of a hybrid community space / production space. This just gives you a sense of sort of a corner lot and what this could be. Ignore that First Friday logo. We were playing around with if we could do logos. I don't know that we'll be able to do that now, but we will have this really great deck experience roof area here that people can look out over Broad Street, which I think will be a highly used space. This gives you a sense of the entrance when you are on Broad Street. So that trapezoidal shape, which is akin to many of the entrances to buildings, both in Richmond, Charlottesville, you see that across central Virginia. Again, welcoming, lots of glass. And again, keep an eye, remember, as we go inside the building, which I'll show you in a moment, this is that space that we're going to be talking about. And then in the back, we're still considering what our parking is going to look like, but this is a rendering of what that back building could look like. Still thinking through this a little bit. If VPM is going to use it, if we might lease it, all different options that we are working around now, particularly as we think about not just the cost of the construction and the building itself, but obviously the ongoing operations. So let me stop there for a moment, see if there's any questions about this. And again, as we see ourselves in the world of arts and culture, we have VPM music. So imagine as we think about VPM music, performances, we have style, bringing happy hours, other things in. We have documentaries like Mending Walls and others. So imagine screenings. So those are types of the activities that we're thinking of. But before I go into our sort of closed session and show you the inside, let me just pause there and see if there's thoughts or questions, particularly about the move. You may be wondering when, which is the $1 million question. So we are looking to break ground. I'm looking at Meg, hopefully September of this year. We're still, I think, on track to do that. It's funny when you move into a building in an area that has been had construction on it in the 1800s, you learn some things when you start to open up the ground. So we're dealing with that now, but I think we're still on track for September. And ideally, we would open our doors in spring, maybe early summer of 2026, which would be amazing when you think about it's America's 250th anniversary. I will not say the sesquin whatever word because I can't, but I think it'll be an amazing opportunity. And Steve's actually already contemplating some content right now. We're working with Anjali Moon and her sister Sisha on a documentary really about some of the work that was happening here in Virginia. So a great opportunity at that moment to be able to welcome people in and show that content.
Any questions for Jayme? Feel free to unmute your mic. I think we're small enough where we can unmute.
Or you can pop things in chat and
yeah.
Meg can help me look at that. All right, well, if questions and concerns and things that we want to think about. So yeah, I think there is going to be some sort of common cause around some different things that we're all looking for. Because we want to bring people downtown. I mean, that's the that's the big piece.
Thank you.
I saw Fraser had a hand up.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. And I just want to sort of echo what Emily said in terms of around activating the space. Because as we all know, right now, there's not much foot traffic downtown. So the idea of making the space a destination and contributing to supporting the neighborhood association, I think has been an ongoing sort of question, challenge, opportunity, all of those things rolled up in one. And that, I guess my question would be is, what is the city has a master plan, of sorts. What are you hearing from the city? I mean, how Emily is right. You're sort of an island down there right now. And that first floor space could really be something, but just to play devil's advocate, there've been a lot of spaces down there that have said, we want to bring people down. We want to bring people down. And it's a tough road.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the city is, they're enthusiastic about it, but we're not the biggest thing on their list right now. If you've even seen the Diamond, right? The EDA just passed some more money. I think the question is, how do we get that attention turned back into city center and back into sort of downtown? If we could get city center moving, I know there was some controversy the other day about the Coliseum, but even connecting city center and some of that into Broad Street, and I think, listen, I sort of feel like and this is as in sort of an outsider sort of still, right? I've been here 5 years. But
that's a believe, perspective.
Because I know there's a lot of Richmond baggage, and I do believe in the future of Richmond. I truly, truly do. This is an area that's growing, but I think we need to be careful and be intentional about the growing. It's interesting being part of the chamber because people will point to other cities, but you got to be careful of that. And one thing that we're also involved in is the economic mobility project that that Community Foundation, Chamber, Plan RVA, and others, is that the community has not always been set up for success for everybody. So you got to be careful if you're going to grow that you don't just sort of incent growth and then push people out. It's really about growing everybody. And I think that's collectively the question that we have to have, because I do think business is going to come here, having come here from DC, seeing the prices of what it's like to have a business and to live. I mean, a family can't even get a home, a starter home. It's near impossible. And we're already seeing that, right? People are coming here in droves and they're coming here from DC. But the problem with that is that additional money throws out other people. So there's pros and cons. And I think we as leadership and we as community leaders just need to be engaged with the city on how we move forward as, you know, again, as a community that really is being additive and bringing people to the businesses that are already there, not pushing people out. But I know there's security questions and you know, a number of other issues.
Well, your timing feels really sort of, you know, also transformational in that, you know, city government is going to change. There's a lot of new momentum, as you mentioned. So I think, you know, sort of being part of that envelope that is open around opportunity is a really good thing. And my hat's off to you for being tenacious and intrepid and brave and all of those things. I think it's exciting and beautiful.
Well, good. Thank you.
I see Mary's got a hand up, and then I know Jayme, you've got some more slides.
Yeah, so we'll show you the inside. Yep.
But Mary,
question, Scott and everybody. This is Janine. Good morning to all. As we were talking, as I heard you, Jayme, talking about some of the pros and cons of your move, I think, and we've talked about this before, I think that it can be very exciting that VPM and public broadcasting contributes innovation in the downtown area. I think in the city center, and I think Emily will agree that innovation is important, but you also mentioned the other side of that. And we see it, you spoke about people coming from DC and so and so and so and so. We see in residential areas what we call regentrification happening, that shifts the economics, that shifts the socioeconomics in a good way for the people from DC, but not in such a good way for the people who have been here all along. You mentioned small businesses that flank you. Mm-hmm. Some of those businesses may own their property, some may not. There have been businesses that have been along Broad Street, many of them Black owned, that have been sitting in the same place for decades. Things may shift. Does that matter to you? Is that a part of your thinking in this project? And if so, what is your intention, or how can we work together to mitigate it?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question, and one we have thought about since we even began this project. I mean, I think the reality is the economics are changing, and we VPM aren't the singular, I think, boom or bust for Broad Street. There's a number of things happening. I think what we can control is how we enter into the neighborhood, how we partner, how we exist alongside our neighbors to be supportive. I think one of the great things we can do, and actually Steve's working on this right now, how do we tell the stories and bring people and highlight what the history of the block, the neighbors, how do we play that really supportive role? And those are things that we've been thinking about, because we do want to respect, our goal isn't for people to leave. I hope that they stay. Again, I've talked to a number of different neighbors, and the economic reality, whether it's VPM or somebody else, I can't necessarily control that, but I think what we can do is be very intentional about our move, what the building looks like, how we bring partners in, and how we support those around us. And then Mary, did you have one thing before we get into?
I'm just piggybacking on all of these statements, really, in that I know people are moving here, not just from DC, but all over in droves. And it's expected that in the housing market, we won't have, we're going to be underwater in housing for the next 10 years. And I will say, I mean, I did the marketing research for the 6th Street Marketplace. Like that's how my history in Richmond. Actually, it was for the farmers market, but it was a whole piece of that downtown renovation back in the 80s. And that project was doomed from the beginning, but that's a whole nother story. But now when I'm downtown, I see people walking on the street. And this is the first time in decades where I've seen like, you know, numbers of people walking around on the street. So that's telling me that this, you know, the downtown area is becoming, and you know, more of a place where people want to live and be present. And I think this is perfect timing for your building, Jayme. I think it's a great idea, and I'm excited. And I think, you know, it is part of the city's job to manage how that affects everyone in the neighborhood. But it's exciting to see people walking on the streets.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Well, Daniel, if I could ask you to stop recording.